Hey, how is everybody doing? I hope you're doing good. Let us begin. I'm going to do Ezekiel 20 today. Let's start with prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Okay. Ezekiel 20. Come forth, Ezekiel. Come forth, Ezekiel. Come forth. All right. Let's take a little sip. A little sip. I had dreams last night, but I can't remember what they were. Let's go. Rebellious Israel purged. This is Ezekiel 20. In the 7th year, in the 5th month, on the 10th day, some of the elders of Israel came to inquire of the Lord. And they sat down in front of me. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, speak to the elders of Israel and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Have you come to inquire of me? As surely as I live, I will not let you inquire of me, declares the sovereign Lord. Heard this before. Will you judge them? Will you judge them, son of man? Then confront them with the detestable practices of their ancestors and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. On the day I chose Israel, I swore with uplifted hand to the descendants of Jacob and revealed myself to them in Egypt. With uplifted hand, I said to them, I am the Lord your God. On that day, I swore to them that I would bring them out of Egypt into a land I had searched out for them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands. And I said to them, each of you get rid of the vile images you have set your eyes on, and do not defile yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. But they rebelled against me and would not listen to me. They did not get rid of the vile images they had set their eyes on, nor did they forsake the idols of Egypt. So I said, I will pour out my wrath on them and spend my anger against them in Egypt. But for the sake of my name, I brought them out of Egypt. I did it to keep my name from being profaned in the eyes of the nations among whom they lived, and in whose sight I had revealed myself to the Israelites. Therefore I led them out of Egypt and brought them into the wilderness. I gave them my decrees and made known to them my laws, by which the person who obeys them will live. Also I gave them my Sabbaths as a sign between us, so they would know that I, the Lord, made them holy. Yet the people of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not follow my decrees, but rejected my laws, by which the person who obeys them will live. And they utterly desecrated my Sabbaths. So I said, I will pour out my wrath on them and destroy them in the wilderness. But for the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nation in whose sight I had brought them out. Also, with uplifted hand, I swore to them in the wilderness that I would not bring them into the land I had given them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, because they rejected my laws and did not follow my decrees, and desecrated my Sabbaths, for their hearts were devoted to their idols. Yet I looked on them with pity and did not destroy them or put an end to them in the wilderness. I said to their children in the wilderness, do not follow the statutes of your parents, or keep their laws, or defile yourselves with their idols. I am the Lord your God. Follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws. Keep my Sabbaths holy, that they may be a sign between us. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. But the children rebelled against me. They did not follow my decrees. They were not careful to keep my laws, of which I said, the person who obeys them will live by them. And they desecrated my Sabbaths. So I said, I will pour out my wrath on them and spend my anger against them in the wilderness. But I withheld my hand, and for the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations. This is like such repetition. I don't understand why. It's like, get the point. Why would God care about what the nations feel about his name? Why would he care? There's something to that. Okay. Also, with uplifted hand, I swore to them in the wilderness that I would disperse them among the nations and scatter them through the countries, because they had not obeyed my laws, but had rejected my decrees and desecrated my Sabbaths, and their eyes lusted after their parents' idols. So it was natural for them to want to serve idols rather than God. Okay. But the idols did nothing for them, so they weren't beholden to the idols. Whereas God did all these things for them, and they seemed to resent it. They seemed to resent it. They rather worship the idols who did nothing for them nor can do anything for them. Until they have a self-esteem issue? To me, it sounds like it's a self-hate situation. It's a self-hate situation. Maybe they were ashamed that God had to deliver them from Egypt and they couldn't deliver themselves. Excuse me. Maybe it's what do you call that? Ego? Pride? Something like that. Okay. Let's see. So I gave them other statutes that were not good, and laws through which they could not live. I defiled them through their gifts, the sacrifice of every firstborn, that I might fill them with horror, so they would know that I am the Lord. This is a serious relationship that has gone off the rails, completely toxic. Completely toxic. Therefore, Son of Man, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, in this also your ancestors blasphemed me by being unfaithful to me. Then I brought them into the land I had sworn to give them, and they saw any high hill, or any leafy tree there. They offered their sacrifices, made offerings that aroused my anger, presented their fragrant incense, and poured out their drink offerings. Then I said to them, what is this high place you go to? It is called Bama to this day. Bama, Bamah. Therefore say to the Israelites, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Will you defile yourselves the way your ancestors did, and lust after their vile images? When you offer your gifts, the sacrifice of your children in the fire, you continue to defile yourselves with all your idols to this day. So they were burning up their kids too. I really feel like these people were insane. They had like, it's quite a shock, first of all, to go to Egypt in the midst of a famine, and then a new pharaoh comes in and enslaves your people. It's got to be hurting, man. That's painful. Then you come out of that, cross the Red Sea, which is a shock, after surviving all the plagues. Then to get into the wilderness, that's shocking. It was too much. I think it was too much for the people. I think that it's hard to go through all of these different changes and expect that you're not going to be doing some weird stuff. The fact that they were allowed to be slaves in Egypt for all that time, and then when God finally sent Moses to set them free after all that they had been through, that God couldn't see that they might feel some kind of way about that. Yes, they were finally being set free, but he made them wait for hundreds of years. How come he couldn't understand? Well, I think it's because the way that he sees time is different from us. 1,000 years is like a day to him. So 400 years, it's not even half the day for him. It was almost half a day. So a half a day would be 500 years if one day is as 1,000 years. So for half a day, he allowed them to be in slavery. But he couldn't see the damage that did to them, psychologically, mentally, as well as spiritually. And why they would want to worship statues rather than worship him, because he let them suffer like that. I don't know. It's so hard. Okay, so if God knows that his thoughts are higher than humans' thoughts and his ways are higher than humans' ways, then why would he punish humans as if they were gods, as if they should understand on God's level, when he knows that their thoughts are not his thoughts? There's a disconnect in here. You see what I'm saying? There's a disconnect here. I don't know if it would have been better. I don't know if it would have been better if he had just left them where they were, to remain as slaves, because after all, they had gotten used to it. And how are they today? Being scattered throughout all the countries and stuff like that. I don't know what God is going to do. I just don't know how he's going to help his people and get them right. They've been through so much. They've been through so much. And other people would just scrap it, They've been through so much. But many of them have committed, soul suicide, because they don't want to come back and they don't want to be in this process anymore. Let's continue. When you offer your gifts, the sacrifice of your children in the fire, you continue to defile yourselves with all your idols to this day. Am I to let you inquire of me? You Israelites, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I will not let you inquire of me. You say, we want to be like the nations, like the peoples of the world who serve wood and stone. But what you have in mind will never happen. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I will reign over you with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm and with outpoured wrath. I will bring you from the nations and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm and with outpoured wrath. I will bring you into the wilderness of the nations, and there, face to face, I will execute judgment upon you. As I judged your ancestors in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so I will judge you, declares the sovereign Lord. I will take note of you as you pass under my rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge you of those who revolt and rebel against me, although I will bring them out of the land where they are living. Yet they will not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am the Lord. As for you, people of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Go and serve your idols, every one of you. But afterward you will surely listen to me and no longer profane my holy name with your gifts and idols. For on my holy mountain, the high mountain of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord, there in the land all the people of Israel will serve me, and there I will accept them. There I will require your offerings and your choice gifts, along with all your holy sacrifices. I will accept you as fragrant incense when I bring you out from the nations and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered. And I will be proved holy through you in the sight of the nations. He really cares about the sight of the nations, what the nations think about him. Then you will know that I am the Lord when I bring you into the land of Israel, the land I had sworn with uplifted hand to give to your ancestors. There you will remember your conduct and all the actions by which you have defiled yourselves, and you will loathe yourselves for all the evil you have done. You will know that I am the Lord when I deal with you for my name's sake, and not according to your evil ways and your corrupt practices. You people of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face towards the south. Preach against the south and prophesy against the forests of the southland. Say to the southern forest, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says, I am about to set fire to you, and it will consume all your trees, both green and dry. The blazing flame will not be quenched, and every face from south to north will be scorched by it. Everyone will see that I, the Lord, have kindled it. It will not be quenched. Then I said, Sovereign Lord, they are saying of me, isn't he just telling parables? So that was chapter 20. That's a lot. It's a lot. I read this and it just wearies me because this relationship, it just seems like it just takes so much work. So much work. You know, if it's this hard, is it meant to be? You know, is it meant to be? Really? The Israelites do not want to serve the God that has chosen them. They don't want to. They don't want to. They've shown it again and again and again that they don't want to. And he keeps torturing them and punishing them, and then even when he brings them back, they don't want to serve him. Okay, this is introductions to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel spoke to the Jews who were captive in Babylon. He often used dramatic stories and enacted parables to make his point. He gave the people a new message of hope and restoration. God would gather the Israelites from the ends of the earth and reestablish them in their own land. I just really think this is a relationship that you just gotta let it go, honey, because they don't want to be with you. Let them go. That's it. You know, you just gotta let them go. They keep rebelling against you. You can't make these people appreciate you. You just gotta let them go. That's it. This is abuse. Ezekiel 20. Leave your comments below and let me know your thoughts. Bye.